BFree joins forces with Championship Wrestling to bring you the all-new Championship Wrestling podcast. And here's your host, Dustin Starr, featuring special guest,
BFree CBD,
founder of BFree CBD, Daryl Bird. Here we go!
Body aches gone, leg pain gone, back pain gone, relaxation on.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 31 of the Championship Wrestling podcast presented by BFree CBD. It's another happy Monday and also happy August wherever you're listening. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Dustin Starr and I'm coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee, the wrestling capital of the world, and today we have a lot of professional wrestling to talk about, plus a special interview with former United Wrestling World Tag Team Champion and one half of the Soul Burners, Russ Taylor. He recently debuted with New Japan Pro Wrestling. All sorts of great stories coming from him. I'll tell you more about it in just a second, but first, this podcast is presented by BFreeCBD.com. That's the letter B, FreeCBD.com. And now, their brand new wellness center is open in Collierville, Tennessee. You can check them out at 777 Poplar Avenue. There are highlights on our official YouTube channel. Go check them out. Look at the inside of the brand new wellness center at CW30 Wrestling. The grand opening is coming soon. We'll keep you posted. But right now, they are open in Collierville, Tennessee. And also, I got to remind you, BFree CBD is perfect for aches and pains, or if you're struggling with anxiety, you're going to want to check out their oils, bath bombs, and even flour and gummies. Just go to BFreeCBD.com. And also, you can follow them on social media. They always have some deals and specials. Shout out to Daryl and Charlotte and also the whole family. It's like a family business. You can follow them at BFreeCBD. And while you're there, go ahead and follow at CW30 Wrestling. Of course, I'm at Dustin Starr. And today, we're going to look ahead at what's coming up this week in pro wrestling and where you can find and catch Championship Wrestling in the news and in the media. We're also going to recap Saturday's Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. We're going to hear what some of the stars of Championship Wrestling had to say about that wild main event. It was Falls Count Anywhere with Heather Monroe and, of course, Houston Body in her corner. He paid the price this week. Versus Lacey Ryan. We'll talk all about it. We'll hear from the stars of Championship Wrestling. And I'll have a special edition of the mailbag with 3 things from Keegan Sports. Now, if you don't know about Keegan Sports, go to hashtag Keegan Sports. It's Rob Fisher's daughter. She's been interviewing celebrities all over Memphis and the NBA, and she picked me. Man, so it was cool to be on, and boy, did she have some tough questions. I'll share that interview with you in the mailbag. But first, senior referee Nick Bonanno and myself, we had a chance to catch up with the former United World Tag Team Champion Russ Taylor just last week, and man, we talked about everything from his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut. Does he have a new name? What is his name? Is it Ryan Taylor, Russ Taylor, Rust? We're going to talk to him about that. And then also the latest update on the Soul Burners possibly breaking up. We're going to talk to him about that. And he drops some big news on us in this interview about testing positive for COVID-19. Russ Taylor is going to tell his story, and that's coming up next.
The all-new Championship Wrestling podcast is presented by BFree CBD, hosted by Dustin Starr. We'll recap all the action, look ahead to what's coming up next, plus insights on the hottest feuds. BFreeCBD.com joins forces with Championship Wrestling to help you be and feel your best.
It's kind of a funny story. We've been watching you from Memphis for over a year now, holding the World Tag Team titles and everything, and we've heard you known as Ryan Taylor, Russ Taylor, just Taylor by itself. So
yeah, Taylor's kind of the interim transitional thing. And United at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, they were asking me, like, so do you want us to call you Russ Taylor? And it was like, well, for all these local fans that come to the show, they don't really get it probably. And I'm not trying to, like, just all of a sudden change it and confuse anybody. So it's just say Taylor. It'd be easier if you say Taylor from now on. Everywhere else, I mean, it's been going as Russ.
Well, after you guys lost the tag team title, not to bring up a sore subject, but you and Adrian Quest kind of had it out. It led to an attack. You guys lost the tag team titles. If we hadn't seen you until the push, right, Nick? We haven't seen any of the programming. So I guess, real quick, where have you been? And where's your partner?
I actually haven't seen Tommy in a good while. I haven't seen Tommy since that match, actually, to be honest. Yeah. Once that happened, we both just kind of like, well, took a break from it all. We talked and, you know, we just said maybe this might be the end for the Soul Burners, maybe not. It was a good run while it was going. And, you know, I mean, I think we still have a lot of miles left in that tag team. I thought it was actually a really great combination me and Tommy had going. I thought we had a really good chemistry, and I loved working and tagging with him. But, I mean, at the same time, we're both at different points in our lives and careers, I think. And, you know, we had talked about just what we thought was best for both of us. And, you know, maybe we'll start it back up sometime again later on next year. Maybe we don't. I'm not sure. But as far as, you know, I haven't really been on the United Network programming. I've kind of been gone. And, I mean, I've been wrestling around, you know, went to Europe for a while, Germany for WXW, went to England over there for Preston City Wrestling. I was going back and forth, actually, for a good little bit. So, had some great stuff out there, traveling around Europe for a while.
Not many people have been able to get inside a wrestling ring. How was it? How was it different, man? Give us the scoop.
I was training with actually Brian Cage before he went to AEW, just to kind of help him get his ring rust off, because he'd also worry about his bicep. So like me and Adrian Quest kind of met up with Cage, and we were just kind of working out in the ring. And at that point, I think it had been, I want to say it had been like at least 2 months since any of us done anything at all in a wrestling ring. And I don't think in my entire 16 years of doing this stuff, I've ever not been in a ring that long. So that felt really weird, going back to it like, okay, you do those first few spots, and I mean, you're pretty conditioned to it and callous to it. It doesn't make that big of a difference. I think the only difference now is just the adjustment of wrestling not in front of a live crowd anymore. So I did my first show there with New Japan.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. The adjustment was just that, like, okay, there's no crowd here. Keep your focus on each other, nothing to distract you. But I also kind of like that, because I think for my style that I do in the ring, that very methodical style where you're kind of telling a story from bell to bell, it works not having to worry about the crowd noise ever, and just worry about the story you're telling on the mat, for me at least.
How was it different backstage? What was it like? I think people would be interested to know, because not very many shows. I think Impact has recorded, WWE, AEW, and New Japan, which was done at the home of Championship Wrestling. So it was like a homecoming too.
That's right.
Yeah, they're taking their precautions. You know what I mean? They're health checking everybody before you go to the venue. You know, spoiler alert here, I actually wasn't on our most recent tapings for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, because we do health checks beforehand. And yeah, I actually got COVID.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of got quiet, but so they do their health checks, and we make sure. And I remember talking with Rocky Romero about it, and he just said, you know, this is the new world. This is the world we live in now, and it's okay, but you know, we have to all be cautious of this stuff. This is what life is going to be like. We have to make sure we are keeping each other safe.
I appreciate you telling that story. Can you share with us about the symptoms, or how you felt, or what your current status is?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. I am fine. It felt, you know, just like the flu, honestly. Just felt like the flu for me. I was very fortunate in that I felt symptoms, I would say, maybe for like 4 days of it. And then after that, it was kind of on the road to recovery. And after like the full 10 days of like isolating myself from literally everybody. I felt pretty good, healthy and strong again. I was able to start working out again.
The Championship Wrestling Rewind is brought to you by BFree CBD.
Man, what a great interview with Rust Taylor, and I really appreciate him for telling his story. If you guys want to listen to the full interview, it's over 30 minutes long. Myself and Nick Bonanno talking to Rust Taylor about pro wrestling. You can check it out in full on the United Wrestling Network's social channels. But let's rewind back to Saturday's Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. We're going to hear from the stars of Championship Wrestling about this crazy main event from our women's division in just a moment. But let me give you a quick recap. Ice Williams and Danny Limelight Rivera absolutely put on a clinic. What a match. Our live chat during the episode was just fired up about this opening contest. What a match. Danny Limelight Rivera comes out on top. There's also a story with Jamie Iovine trying to recruit Ice Williams, and it didn't quite go his way. Go check that out. That's episode 70 of Championship Wrestling. Also, Zicky Dice, after attacking Gentleman Jervis last week, he was back to do the same with Jordan Clearwater, but ended up getting punched in the face for it. Also, Levi Shapiro was in action. Mikey O'Shea was in action and went toe-to-toe with Anthony Idol. And I actually went to the 901 FC soccer game on Saturday. I was doing PA there at AutoZone Park, and one of the ushers came up and said, "Man, I can't wait to see the big men square off." I said, "Me either." Also, the Wolf Zaddies were in tag team action. Don't blink, you might miss it. That was very fast work for the Wolf Zaddies. They don't get paid by the hour. And then in the main event, it was Falls Count Anywhere, the best of 7 series, match number 4. And this time, Heather Monroe picked the stipulation. And instead of talking to you about it, why don't we hear from the stars of Championship Wrestling and what they thought about it?
Wow, I did not expect that.
That is what television is all about. I don't think I've ever called or seen anything quite like Heather Monroe and Lacey Ryan.
Oh man, I've never seen a tour day trash.
One of the most wild things I've ever been a part of.
Holston finally got what he deserved, and so did Heather Monroe.
Dives, dumpsters, and bottles, oh my.
The Championship Wrestling Lookout is brought to you by BFree CBD.
Here's what you can look out for this week with Championship Wrestling. Today, actually, on Monday, this is today, Monday, when this drops, I'm actually going to be in the NBA Virtual Fan Experience box with the Memphis Grizzlies. You guys might be able to get a glimpse of me in the audience during the NBA game. But then check me out on Thursday, 9 a.m. Central. Catch me on Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmondson talking pro wrestling. You can listen live anywhere in the world or check it out after the fact on podcast. It all goes down at sports56whbq.com. Then that afternoon, that's Thursday afternoon, it's an all-new Grind City Wrestling. You can listen at grindcitymedia.com/podcasts. You can join us each and every Thursday, and we're approaching our milestone 100th episode. We always have a little bit of fun, but here's a little snippet of some of the stuff that I actually have to put up with.
The best wrestling that I watched all week, you already know. What is it? You know it, bro. Woo, woo, woo. No. Matt Cardona has officially debuted
Wait, that's
for
his
AEW.
real name?
Yes.
So I was trying to figure out last night, where have I seen him before?
That's Zack Ryder. Oh my gosh, I'm going to close on Devin right now. You're going to get a buckshot lariat.
I was like, I've seen that guy before. Is that Matt Stryker? Is that
What?
Who is that guy? And then there you go. You just told me.
Oh my gosh, Zack Ryder, real name Matt Cardona. Strong Island has officially invaded AEW. Did you not like it? So it didn't hit you that was Zack Ryder?
No, it didn't hit me. So
How?
I'm assuming that it didn't hit a lot of people because it didn't hit
No,
me.
come on.
Dude, I watch wrestling. Come on, we have a wrestling podcast. I've watched it. Did not hit me.
Oh boy, that was Devin Walker Bebe. And if you want to send him a tweet for me about Matt Cardona, it's at Devin_Walker2. And also check us out this Thursday, Grind City Wrestling on grindcitymedia.com/podcast. And then, of course, an all-new Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle coming up on Saturday and it's never before seen footage from the Best of Red Carpet Rumble.
Saturday at noon, it's an all-new Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle.
Join us for the very best of Red Carpet Rumble, where it's every man for himself.
Saturday at noon, right here on CW30 Memphis.
It's time for this week's mailbag. Mailbag.
As I mentioned earlier, we're going to do it a little bit different this week with the mailbag. Instead of answering your questions, I'm going to answer 3 questions from Keegan Fisher. And for those of you who don't know, Rob Fisher is the courtside reporter for the Memphis Grizzlies and Fox Sports Southeast. He's also the co-host of The Odds Couple on Grind City Media. You can check that out at grindcitymedia.com/podcast. But during the pandemic, Keegan started her own segment. It's called 3 Things with Keegan Sports, and she had some pretty tough questions for me. Check it out.
Today's guest is Dustin Starr. He's a pro wrestler, and he's on CW30, and he's arena host for the Grizzlies and Redbirds. Hi, Dustin.
Hey, Keegan, how are you?
Good.
I'm a big fan of yours, so thank you for the invite. I've seen you interview a lot of my friends, and your questions, they make me a little bit nervous because I don't know what you're going to ask.
It's a little surprise.
Oh, boy. Bring it on.
It might be bad. Question 1. What do you miss most about Grizzlies and Redbirds games?
Oh, man, we've met so many friends over at AutoZone Park and at FedEx Forum. Everybody from the people that take the tickets, the security, your dad, you guys, the fans, just everybody, just being around everybody, because going to so many games, you see a lot of the same people over and over again. And those people all become your friends, and you see them so often, and then all of a sudden, you don't get to see them anymore. So I use social media to try to catch up with everybody. But the thing that I miss the most has to be the people and the fans.
Question 2. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, my favorite wrestler. Oh, that's a really tough one.
Wrestler. I wonder who.
I would have to say, oh my gosh, it's kind of a mixture of, woo, Ric Flair. He was always really good growing up, but I love John Cena. You can't see me. And I love Roman Reigns too. So those are 2 of my favorite guys. I'm kind of torn on which one's my favorite, but I would have to say the good guys.
I like John Cena. Don't I?
John Cena.
Question 3. What's a good move? What's a good wrestler move I can use on my little brother Colton?
Oh my gosh. All right. So first of all, you can't try this at home. This is a disclaimer. I do not condone this kind of behavior at home, but if you really want to get him, just put him in the headlock. You just stick his head in there and you squeeze it as hard as you can until he says, "Uncle, uncle," or he'll tap out. Yeah,
I actually did that to him once, and then my mom caught me, and he said, "Oh, we're just playing a game. Keegan didn't hurt me," and I really hurt him. There was like a scar.
Well, so how strong are you, Keegan? Let me see your muscles. There you go. All right, so you look like you're strong enough to possibly body slam him.
I can body slam my dad.
Thanks for listening to the Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFreeCBD.com.
BFree CBD, pain on, pain gone. BFree CBD, pain on.
Oh yeah. Thank you for joining us today again on the Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFree CBD. What a conversation with Russ Taylor. Breaking stories and breaking news from him. And then to follow that up with a fun interview with Keegan Sports. And of course, you can get more of Keegan on Twitter. It's hashtag Keegan Sports. And if you want that full interview with Russ Taylor, go to the United Wrestling Network. It's over 30 minutes long. And also remember, before we go, BFree CBD is open in Collierville, Tennessee. If you're living in the Mid-South, go to 777 West Poplar Avenue. Stop by, say hello, tell them 5 Star sent you. They're big wrestling fans, and we appreciate them for supporting us, and of course, we're doing the same in return. And if you already take CBD, man, or if you've been thinking about trying it, certainly try BFree CBD. And then next week, we're going to have another special guest. Join us Saturday, and then again on Monday with another podcast. Keep up with us at CW30 Wrestling. And until next week, I am Dustin Starr, saying so long, everybody.